Hello, my loves. Welcome to this week's energy forecast, or a timeless reading if you stumble on this another time. This is a very exciting reading for a few different reasons. One, you have nothing but Major Arcana. And in all my years of reading cards, I've never had this happen. Also, this is my first reading of this channel, and I feel like this is a little cosmic hurrah for all of us setting on to these new journeys, and probably a little bit of advice for all of us as we are moving forward, especially in these very unusual times. So I am thrilled that you are here with me for this monumental occasion, and of course, you would deserve to have all Major Arcana. So let's look into this because most of them are upside down, fascinatingly enough. So here's what I'm picking up on before this reading, as well as once I was seeing this card, or these cards. We've got the hustler in your current energy position. And my spirit team suggested that I use this very particular deck, and it's called the Quiet Rebel Oracle by Thurman. Had to go look at her name. So I find it amusing because I rarely use tarot that has, words on it. But the fact that they projected the magician as the trickster, because that's not necessarily at all the meaning, although it can be. So for me, this reflects ego. This feels far more like a life reading, or a career reading, or a life's mission reading, a soul's mission, actually, maybe more than anything. And depending on what's going on with you in terms of work or career, or just how you are showing up, how you're allowing your soul to lead you and to move with your soul's innate calling in this lifetime, this might be an indicator that we want to take a look at how might the mind be taking over and trying to lead, which of course it happens to all of us, right? I mean, that's what brains do. And it's a lifetime's work to figure out how not to allow that to happen. So we're not beating ourselves up. We are, I'm seeing these eyes just opening up. It's eyes wide open to what the truth is. Not to beat ourselves up, but to have more data, to have more awareness in how we move forward, which is always good and exciting. So this could be in terms of, maybe the ego feels like there's a time constraint that you need to push, that you need to effort, that you need to cram in or get more done. Or maybe your intuition is nudging you in a certain direction. And of course, intuition is very soft. It's a whisper. And maybe you've been in your head a lot. Maybe because you've been watching too much news. Maybe because you've got financial stresses. Maybe you've just got a really fast, sharp mind. And it's leading the way versus spending enough time in that stillness. It does feel like, it's interesting because I didn't notice this before, but his head is all black and white, but everything else in the card is colorful. Maybe you've been in your head. Maybe you have been leading with thought versus intuition. So look around for where that might be. Is there a fear? Is there a fear on a big global scale, about life and death, about your future safety? Now, I know that's like big and hefty and lofty. And, but maybe it's just, I'm in some tricky spots that I'm trying to figure out how to maneuver through. And maybe fear has got a hold of you a little bit more than you actually realize. And I'm also just realizing, no wonder I'm feeling so work drawn. I'm honestly just realizing it says the hustler. Where are you overworking? Where are you putting in, not that it's bad to put in extra hours, but Are you doing that from this really creative place, this profound flow? Or is there urgency, rush, push, your agenda versus the divine's agenda? What's interesting is then what's behind the scenes, what's taking place that you're not consciously aware of. We've got the Strength card, but in reverse. And the Strength card it's such a beautiful, strong card because this reflects your soul's ability to trump your ego. Your innate nature, having been practiced to be there in your human body, being able to control impulses, overthinking, ego leading the way, vices, addictions, etc. So this is where we want to take a look, because I keep seeing this card flipping as I'm staring at it. This is wanting to be upright. And it is perfectly paired. They're showing me something about there's a man in the Hustler, the Magician card, and there's a woman okay, so a lot of you are probably women, feminine energy watching this. Notice how we've got the male energy, and if you are a female watching this, if you're a male, of course, welcome. But if you're a female watching this, and the fact that we've got, the trickster being a male energy, and he is headed out with his bag of tricks, where might your masculine energy be taking over and really squashing the divine feminine, that intuition, the creativity, the stillness, the inwardness, the knowing? And listen, I'm not going to judge. It's really tough to be a female especially in Western cultures, depending on where you live, to stay in that feminine. Everything in our culture goes against that. Everything in our culture trains us to succeed as the magician. And so we want to be, again, always so gentle with ourselves as we discover and get curious about new information. So where's that femininity needing to come in? Is it more meditation time? Is it getting better rest? Is it just slowing down? Maybe it's getting grounded, being outside, walking barefoot, doing some gardening. Maybe it's a creative project that, even if you're in the midst of a creative project, is your mind, those thought, left brain sort of strategies taking over or usurping the creative quality? And then, so interestingly, you've got the Wheel of Fortune in reverse as well, the cosmic roulette. And so what I find interesting as an advice is, and I've honestly, I don't think I've ever felt this card in this way before. It feels like, what they're showing me is a very masculine energy within us. Doesn't have to be an actual male, although maybe you have a boss that's very like, come on, chop, chop, chop. But it's stepping away from, this is going to be hard to do because it's everywhere, my goal is to get this card upright. My goal is to have, my fortunes come in. My goal is having control over trying to push my life into, the happiest, most overflowingly abundant, opulent kind of state. Now, that may seem like really super stupid advice. You might be like, I don't know about this. But when it was paired at the end with the first card is the one I picked the last, right before jumping on here, I was told to pick an oracle as well. You've got bloom in the cracks. This is wanting to, and I like that she's pointed backwards as well, because often I see that as, and she looks so happy too. I often see that as going back into the past, healing the past when it's in an optimistic light like this. What is it that your mind may be afraid of that needs to be flipped on its head? Maybe your mind's saying, well, only if I have a whole bunch of money, or only if I have this certain kind of house, or only if I have this certain kind of partner, or only if my partner acts a certain kind of way. Is that deemed a good life? And I'm going to fight like heck, and I'm going to hustle, our magician, to force life into what I want it to be. Because I will tell you, after channeling for so many years, after hearing spirit talking in my ear 24/7 for a long, long, long time, I will tell you, their message repeatedly in all sorts of different ways is to surrender. And especially I'm seeing meditation is probably a really important one for all of us watching this. Upping that or starting a practice, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, just getting in the habit of it is more important than the length of time. We want to train your body to start to go, ooh, I'm kind of looking forward to this 5 minutes of just staring at the wall, emptying my mind. The bloom in the cracks is showing us that and reminding us what our egos deem as bad, as the wheel of fortune going terribly wrong, as us being in an awful cycle that we have to struggle to get out of. What if that perspective is completely ass backwards? What if we need a perspective shift and we need this chick with her watering can and her crazy hat to come in and go, hey, look at how I am seeing your life. Looking how I'm perceiving your supposed catastrophes. And listen, I'm not making light of the stuff that a lot of you are going through. Heavy duty stuff. This is a big guns reading. This is all Major Arcana with a kick in the butt, in the back here with the Oracle card kind of wrapping things up. This is intense. So I'm assuming some of you are either in big pivotal changes, a big shift into a new cycle, an ending of an old way, or really needing a push from the universe to do that. And so what if the goal is just to be attuned within yourself, not to have your outside world look a certain way? Because honestly, while I know that, and you'll probably hear me say things where you go, oh, that's completely opposite of what she said on this day. There's nothing wrong with positive focus. There's nothing wrong with a desire, an excitement to create this, a beautiful, certain kind of life that you want. But it is profoundly disempowering to need it to look a certain way in order for you to feel safe and in order for you to be happy. And again, our entire culture teaches us the opposite. So good for us for hanging in there. And this is not easy. This is, again, your lifetime's work. But what if you can, my guides have told me so many times, and they have created some seeming catastrophes. I'm talking like big, like what kind of situations. And they said, no, well, you weren't changing in any other way. This was the only way to crack you open to realizing you had some hidden wounds, that you had some places that weren't getting explored and loved, so that you could become a more whole person, a more empowered person. And they're always telling me that actually, and I'm seeing this quote that they've told me several times, within the problem lies the solution. Now, what does that mean? If a challenge, meaning our emotions and our thoughts then are responding in a way that's more negative or painful, sad, rage, jealousy, whatever, that is an indicator. That is actually a sign, a beautiful, beautiful sign that a part of you that had to be suppressed probably most of your adult life is now coming to the surface. And that's actually a sign of strength. And it's wanting to be addressed. It's wanting for you to excavate What is the belief, the concepts that deep down subconsciously you've been holding that would cause your mind to think, ooh, well, the best option I got right now is to make this human angry, to make this human hopeless, to make this human anxious, whatever it might be. It's always something coming up from the depths of your psyche, a part of you, a beautiful part of you. Until humanity realizes that all these parts are not negative, they are actually aspects of every single one of us. And until we each can wake up to bringing love to it, because it's interesting, I'm seeing with this upside down, the ladybug is actually at the top of the card. And I think of them often as, sometimes I think of them as protectors, but as good luck, as something going right. So if you're in the midst of, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay the rent? Oh my gosh, I'm stalling on this project or business that I'm wanting to do. I'm struggling with relationship patterns or a challenging relationship, whatever it might be. The list could go on and on. What if this is where you get to grow? Because that's why we're here, for your soul to evolve, for you to learn new lessons. Granted, there are some people who incarnate just to have an easy life. They're like, hey, you know what? Last one was really tough. Bring me back down here and let this be just a long vacation. But for most of us, that's not it. We're in the midst of, it's like they're showing me this arm, like lifting weights at the gym. Technically, when you're lifting weights, you're kind of ripping those muscle cells. And so through that tension is created strength. And everything that I am strong in now, everything came from a challenge that I learned to move toward, to figure out what is this part of me that's arising so I can heal that. Because our human mind and our collective global community tells us that what's outside of you is causing your pain. This is why we're still at war all the time. Those people, or that person, or that politician, or that ex-boyfriend, or that, stepmother, or whatever. And it's not to make light of those things. We want to learn how to throw our arms around these parts of us, those little hurting, fragmented, childlike parts that had to be thrown into the dungeon of your mind just for you to survive. But this is a time to really be transforming that and perceiving a challenge as an excitement, as an opportunity to grow. Ooh, okay, life is giving me this opportunity to strengthen. How might I have to perceive this in order for this to be a positive, to this be a benefit? There's lots of processes. I am a massive fan of Byron Katie. I'm a massive fan of certain aspects of shadow work processes. It really depends on kind of where you're at, of what your humanness is ready for. But this is a massive, massive reframing of letting go. I'm just seeing this whole old way of not just your life, the collective's life needing to be put to bed so that we can start fresh, that we can do things from a different way. And that doesn't happen unless you and I individually commit to figuring it out. And it's a bumpy process, and it's not pretty, it's not linear. It's more of a spiral that just revisits things as you go deeper and deeper and deeper into levels of certain kind of patterns and habits and wounds you have. But it also, the bottom of the deck energy, this I love, it's called the mad scientist. And probably some of us feel a little bit like her. But when she's upright, she's got her monkeys in control, but when she's upside down, it can be not only that monkey mind, that imbalance, it can literally be us being so stressed and overwhelmed, understandably, feeling a certain way for such a long time that even the body's chemistry can get off. From our thoughts, which affects all our hormones, from foods, stresses, you name it. Probably everybody fits into this category at this point, right? So she's an indicator of, hey, we can all become a conscious scientist of studying our thoughts that create the mix of hormones in our body. We can become empowered. She's hanging out in a test tube. If we can get her upright, it's having profound compassion. If you are feeling fried, if you're feeling like, yeah, I've stressed myself into a chemical imbalance. Like, trust me, most people have been there. And I know I've been there a few times. So compassion and curiosity. Compassion and curiosity. I hope that there are a ton more readings that kick this one's butt as much as this, because this is intense. I don't know if you're grasping it, but the stuff pouring through me and the guides hanging out around me, trying to push insights through, is pretty intense. More than I thought before sitting down here and opening my mouth. But I have a feeling there's a lot more intense ones coming in a great way, in an exciting way. This is a time to be doing that deep healing work. And while, some spreads may show up as a relationship spread, some may show up as, very specifically about career. This feels like, how are our missions being moved onto the world? Where is the mind leading? How can we allow our soul to lead? And what are we fearing about letting the soul lead? Because most of us, honestly, if we're really honest, deep down, are terrified. Our minds are terrified of surrender, terrified of letting go of control. Humans are just, brains are just little control freak mechanisms. So it's a tall order. But any little baby step, little bits by little bits, you can start stepping into really they're showing me paired the bloom in the cracks and that's interesting because they're females too, and the strength card. I'm seeing them both hanging out together upright. That's powerful when and they're showing me that in the strength card, that's your soul. That's this beautiful true essence that's eternal, that can't be hurt, that cannot die. It's who you really, really are. Hanging out with the blooming cracks chick, which is an aligned human being, letting that beautiful spirit energy and alignment and grace actually live out through the human body. And look at her in her funny little, stance, and she's just having a ball. So those two riding together, one foot in spirit. Where are you needing to anchor one, not both feet? That's not the point of being here. The point of being here is one foot in spirit, one foot in human, your gorgeous little humanness. So I hope this serves. I would love for you to leave a comment of what's one thing to start retraining all our minds and to let other people who are commenting look through this list. What's one thing that in your past was a tough thing, could be little, could be big, that strengthened you, that made you wiser, that made you more resilient, made you more compassionate, whatever it might be. What's a situation where you can remind your mind and all the rest of us that, that actually wasn't bad, although my brain thought it was in the moment. And then is there anything that you're challenged with now that, as you write that in the comments, not only we all can just envision you solving it and figuring it out and knowing that you are this infinite, powerful, wise spirit who's gonna get there, who's gonna figure it out. But to, just to be able to share that and bring more awareness then to maybe something that you're wanting to work on. And for those of you who tend to be more private, you can just do this in your notebook, in your journal. But it would be such an honor to see you back here for future readings. It would be unbelievable. It would be a treat to my heart if you would consider subscribing. That would just mean the world to me. And if you have any other comments, I'm happy to hear, or questions that you have, or other questions that I can pose to Spirit, and we can do some spreads on those too. All right, I'm thrilled you're here. Thank you so much, and have the most amazing week. This is a powerhouse turning point for a lot of us. All right, easy does it. Okay, go out there and be unstoppable. Take care.